What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and you are watching the, as I have to now mute.
What is up, everyone? I am Chris Knight, and you are watching.
All right, so this is the rule of three, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate everybody who's out there today. I greatly appreciate you guys watching. Today we've got Matt's Mama Bear. She is here as the savior of Danny and I for coming in to take Shaun's place. Shaun either overslept or something, we're not sure. Doesn't really matter. But really quick, this is really simple. We've got three topics we're going to pick by the wheel of topics. We got 3 minutes. Each of us get to talk about it. We get 3 minutes after that for all of us to talk together. And, of course, there's three YouTubers, hence the title, The Rule of Three. So today we're going to give a real quick chance for Mads and Danny to tell you where they can find them normally. So, Mads, go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you, what you're all about.
Hey, I'm Mads Mama Bear here. You can find me Mondays, actually, on Comic Chat's channel and Danny's channel. And, of course, on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram at Mads Mama Bear. And on Thursdays, especially this week, on the Queen's Council, which will be hosted by yours truly. Thursday, 9:30 Eastern. Do not miss it.
Awesome. And Danny, go ahead and tell everybody about you.
I'm Danny. Comic Chat is my channel on YouTube. Comic Chats, if you want to reach me by Twitter. I have a show on Monday night called The Chaotic Conversation, which stars these two lovely people here, Chris and Mads. Also, later on this afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can get along with me and Terrence and our guest, Jason Miller, today. We'll be on our show, Equilibrium. So please tune in. We're just going to talk about anything today. Whatever the chat wants to bring up, we will discuss.
I have to get on that sometime. Talk to you guys about whatever. I'm dealing with this wonderful problem with lighting on my camera. It's been really weird. It either makes me look like a complete ghost, or it makes me look like, I'm in like shadows. It's weird. Okay, guys. So this is really simple. We have the wheel of topics, and those wheel of topics are very, very simple. We're going to go ahead and go over to it right now. Bum, bum, bum. There it is. We'll go full screen, though, just to make it better. And as we spin the topics, we basically pick three. Yada, yada, yada. As I have to do something else. I had to make sure that I have all of these in something so I can read them off. How do you love that? I thought I was ready. I'm not. Nothing new, right? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and spin this first. Matt, since you are our guest of honor today, we're going to go ahead and let you go first, just so you know. As we spin and spin and spin the wheel of topics. First one. What are your thoughts on Sony delaying Morbius but sticking to the release schedule for Venom 2? What are your thoughts of Sony delaying Morbius but sticking to the release schedule for Venom 2? And I will bring up the 3 minutes. And Mads, are you ready?
Yeah.
3 minutes on the board. Here you go.
Honestly, I feel embarrassed to admit this, but this is the first I'm hearing about Venom 2.
Oh.
I'm a little behind on my knowledge. I'm a little behind on my history when it comes to this stuff. I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry.
It's all right, because this isn't really about knowing much about it. It's just Sony yesterday or this past week basically officially announced that Morbius will be pushed back to, I don't think they've actually released it or like put a date on it. They just said 2022. Yep. And they said Venom 2 is still, I think, in October. Danny, is it October?
I think it's October, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an October release date, and they said they're still sticking to that for Venom 2.
Oh, it sounds like that they're more that they've got majority, if not all, of the filming done for Venom 2. Now they're just in the editing process. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense not to really adjust the release date much, because that's not requiring a huge ton of people. Versus filming, which is where they're at it with Morbius at this point. Mm-hmm. Because they would maybe just be starting filming. Like I don't know how far even into that they would be. And there's a huge difference in level of contact for, when it comes to the stuff that's required for editing and Foley and all of that stuff versus, the full-on filming, which requires a huge amount of people. I mean, they even paused Supernatural because of that, which, there's mixed blessings. There's mixed feelings for that one for me, being Supernatural fans, one of the things I like to talk about. And I'm just, at this point, I'm filling up because I do not have Chris's gift of gab.
Is this is their last season, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so
Thank
that's
God.
Oh, listen to that.
Aw.
Danny doesn't like Supernatural.
I like Supernatural, but it can't go on forever, is all I'm saying.
No, and I think with any show like that, you got to have a really you have to have a satisfying conclusion, and the longer you drag it out, the harder it is to give it a satisfying conclusion.
It's going to become a soap opera, and they're going to start using the same material over and over, and that's going to lose some of its popularity, in my opinion.
The guys, they were ready to end it on a level. So, and they were the ones that were always calling the shots.
Like my favorite show was Sons of Anarchy. Oh, when that ended, I wanted to cry.
Never got it. I mean, I watched part of that, but I never got into it.
Yeah, you got to watch it, man. Jack Teller is a beast.
It's easier to watch for me when it's all done because I can binge it and get it over with, and I can actually follow it. That's the biggest problem with TV shows for me. And look at that, Mads. We took your 3 minutes up.
Yep.
No, that's all right. This one isn't like the Weekly Rumble. If you guys watch the Weekly Rumble on this channel, which, just so you guys know, we're on both Chaos Central's YouTube channel and the Real Review 3000 right now. This is actually a Chaos Central show. So this doesn't really have anything except for I'm on it to do with my channel. These are shows that we've done for Chaos Central.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, before we get to you, Danny, I'm going to go ahead and put in our link for Chaos Central's YouTube channel because what we need from you guys is to go and please subscribe to that channel. We're trying to get up to 100 subscribers right now so we can get our vanity title. The vanity title, if you want to know what it is, it's if you look up there and you type in YouTube something, that's how you get a channel. So like mine is youtube.com/The Real Review 3000. And that's how you get it. And it's much easier than what you see right there on the screen, which I also just put in the chat. So you guys can go and check that out. And please subscribe, pass it along to other people. That way we can start streaming directly from that channel alone because we'll have enough people there that can come and watch. So thank you very much for doing that, guys. I appreciate it. And now, Danny, I'm so sorry to have done that to you.
Not a problem, bro.
Shameless plug. But we're going to go ahead and get to you. Your 3 minutes is on the board. The question again is, what are your thoughts on Sony delaying Morbius, but sticking to the release schedule for Venom 2? 3 minutes on the board, and here you go.
I think one of the main reasons is that Morbius is not a proven product. We seem excited about it when we first saw it, but we don't really know or understand will it do well, because some people may say that may feel a little gun shy going to the theaters. I don't know if I'm gonna leave my safety of my home because of the crisis that's upon us now and take a chance on going to Morbius. But people that have seen Venom, and Venom is a proven project, I think they'll take more of a chance going there if they start to loosen the restrictions on theaters and stuff as this crisis passes, hopefully. Also, I think that Morbius maybe needs some more tinkering and stuff, and more special effects, or maybe people, now that stuff is closed down, they may have thought of better ways to improve the story or improve the special effects. So they may be working on that. Also, they probably kind of foreseen and say, look, if you leave it as is now, it's going to have a lot of competition that's going to take away from it. So the most important thing we want to do is make sure it's going to be put out in a time that's not going to be compete with other superhero movies. Because a lot of time, the biggest thing that the new movies want is to have a good, strong opening weekend. If they compete with a Disney product like Wonder Woman or maybe even Aquaman. I don't know when that's planning to come out, but if they get somewhere in that time frame, then they definitely gonna get squashed. So if they probably reevaluating the landscape, saying, look, if you let Morbius come out now because of this crisis, you may push it to compete with something that's going to be more of a juggernaut. Because although I think Morbius is going to be good, if I got to choose between spending my money on Wonder Woman 84 or Morbius, I'm going to choose Wonder Woman 84. I think they see that as well too. Not to mention Black Widow. Morbius is not strong enough to take out Wonder Woman or Black Widow. So because there's so uncertainty because of the crisis, I would just move it back and change it, reevaluate my position. And then when a week or a month or two is clear, then that's when I would put it in there. Morbius would be fantastic come out around Halloween time, but it would be competing against Venom 2, which I think is going to be a monster. I'm very happy that I think Andy Serkis is the director. We're going to have his hand in that. So that movie, I do believe, and it got Woody Harrelson in it, I think it's going to be a beast. So, not to mention the guy that plays Venom, I can't think his name, it escapes me now.
Hold on. Let's see here. It is. It's not Tom Hardy, is it?
Yeah, it was Tom Hardy.
It is. Yeah, he just looks different in that. He doesn't look as buff as normal.
He is eye candy to the women, so he's going to attract them. So I would not go against that if I were Sony. And that's my 3 minutes.
All right. Yeah. No. All right. So I'll take my 3 minutes real quick here. First off, good points on Morbius. It is a lesser known commodity as far as movies go and to general audiences. It was due to come out, I think, July 10th. Now, if everything had stayed status quo, that was going to go up against Wonder Woman and Black Widow and a bunch of other stuff, because that's a big weekend. That is the weekend after 4th of July, which is, I think, a Sunday this year or a Monday. Or maybe Saturday. Maybe it's Saturday.
1 minute, I'll tell you.
But because of that, you're really putting it up against some stiff competition. And Morbius, while it may be a good movie, and it looks
Saturday.
Okay, it's a Saturday. It may look really good, and it may be good. It is a property that you want to give it a chance. They're moving it now to March 10th or 16th. Let me look again. In March 19th, I'm sorry, right after my birthday. So March 19th next year. So 2022 or 21, I'm sorry, 2021. And that in and of itself, March 15th through 20th, spring release is a good date. And you also have the May 15th release dates, which is like the beginning of summer release dates. So there are several big release dates, and March 19th is a good release date, but not going to see huge competition. You'll have good movies that come out, but nothing that's going to be really, really big. And we've talked about this, like with Mortal Kombat coming out in January. The January is that year that day or that month. I'll get it right one of these days. That month that you put something out there that you're just kind of like, I don't know. And some stuff comes out of January smelling like a rose. Other stuff just smells like crap. And so we'll see about Mortal Kombat. But with Morbius, they're saying we're confident in this movie, but we want to give it a chance. So now we have a reason to push it back without anybody asking crazy questions. And so they've been given the perfect excuse. Now, with Venom 2, you're looking at October. It's already there. Most signs are pointing to the fluffy bunny disease issue being done around that time. So with that being said, leaving it where it's at is perfectly fine, because there's more people confident in Venom 2. And after I finally got to watch the movie, I know some people were like, oh, it's an all right movie. I actually loved it. I loved Venom. It was just beautifully done. It was perfect for the character. It fixed a lot of the problems we had from Spider-Man 3, where they just kind of muddled up the Venom character himself. I love that movie. So I think Venom 2 is placed right where it needs to be. It's in October, and it fits that Halloween theme and all that. So that's a really good thing. So now we're going to have 3 minutes to talk together about it some more, what we think about this and stuff like that. We'll start the timer. Now, Matt, have you seen the first Venom? No. Oh, I see. I hadn't actually until this whole thing. This whole thing started, so I watched it at work.
That sound is me no longer being invited onto Danny's channel.
No, he loves you too much.
I know he does.
Never that.
Okay, so
he shows up every week for the Queen's Council. I know he loves.
Yeah,
I know he does.
But you know, we're dealing with two properties that up until when Venom came out, people wanted to see these, but it was a question mark. Now I don't remember Nindroid Biden. Hey Biden, how you doing? By the way, I want to say hi to the chat real quick. We got Dandelion Fluff in here, owner and chat reviews, USMC Rebels, Biden Touch. I saw Shellbacks here. Who else? We got RNS Driver. Jason Miller's here. Guys, I want to really thank you guys. We got 11.
Oh, Danny's brother just showed up.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Javon, how you doing? I'm saying it wrong. It's Javion, right? Javion. Okay. I do apologize about that. I got to get that right. So, but we really appreciate all you guys watching. We got 11 right now, and that really helps us build this brand up, and that's what this is about. So thank you very much, guys, for watching. I know I wait. But these two properties were, I would say, second tier properties in the Spider-Man universe, and they are Spider-Verse associated. But when you give them the time and the quality like they did with Venom, you're really opening up the door for a much larger Spider-Verse, which is what everybody's been wanting. They want to see Sony take over Spider-Man, and I don't care how that goes. I don't care if Sony gets it. I don't care if they still work with Disney. I love the products they're putting out right now. And you're saying that Venom was a second tier property? I call it a second tier because he is a secondary character to Spider-Man. So in the Spider-Verse, he is a step down from Spider-Man. Now, I'm not saying that it's in the comic book world, he is a second tier. I'm just saying as far as movies are built, you have your first tier, you have your second tier, and so on and so forth. And he fits under that. Now, I'm not saying that it can't be a first tier program, because the way Sony handled the first one was beautiful. I mean, I really mean that. It was a beautifully done movie. It wasn't overdone. It wasn't oversaturated with CGI. And Mads, you really should go see it or watch it. So, and if you need it, I have it on digital. I can send it your way. To let you borrow it, virtually borrow it.
I have been meaning to catch it.
Right.
It's just, life, single parent. It's, sometimes it gets a little busy. I always have a huge list of movies I need to watch. But when it comes to this whole thought, though, Venom is more of a well-known character versus Morbius to the average person. I can also see that being factored in. What
I love about the Disney-Sony relationship, and we're going to talk just for a little bit longer since I talked to the chat real quick. What I love about the Sony-Disney relationship is that they're building something that could turn out to be really beautiful. Because now what we've got is you've got Venom, you'll have Morbius, and Spider-Man. Those all fit together. But Morbius allows you to bring in Blade because those are related. And when you talk about that, now what we're doing is we're building a nice web, and I guess that's a corny term to use with Spider-Man involved, but it's a nice web that interlocks a lot of stuff together. And if these two studios can say, okay, we're going to be separate from each other, but we're going to work together because we have this way now that we can build this huge product together. That's the best thing that for us as fans and people who love these comics and stuff, that's the best thing that can happen for us. So they're heading in the right direction. Hopefully it'll stay that way. All right. The second topic Danny, we'll let you handle this one first.
All right.
All right. This topic is, what movie influenced you most growing up? What movie influenced you most growing up? Get that off. We'll bring up the 3 minutes. And your 3 minutes starts now.
That is a hard question. I've watched so many movies. I don't know which one I could actually pick out and say it just sticks in my mind growing up. As I become a young man, one that I always watch whenever it comes on is The Patriot with Mel Gibson. Whenever that movie comes on, I'm stuck there. I've even run late for work watching it because it come on early in the mornings. But that's like one of my all-time favorites. Like I said, I wasn't grown when it came out, but I just love the history of it. The compelling story of how he tried to protect his family. Hard-headed son, not listening to him. Became the I guess so to speak, the father bear, went out, protect his son as best he could. Met his mortal enemy, was able to defeat his mortal enemy. So that movie to me is one of my all-time favorites. Another cult classic that I watched when I was a younger teenager, I think, was The Last Dragon. I don't know if you ever watched that. It's not a mainstream. Motown made it. Barry Gordy produced and wrote the story, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of like a black martial arts movie. I remember watching that over and over and over when VHS first come out. You go rent it from Rent a Center somewhere and Black Dragon. I watched a lot of Bruce Lee movies as a child and teenager. So any one of his movies, I watched and loved. So it was a combination. I can't sit here and pick out one. There is no way. That would be impossible. But as a young man in my 20s, early 30s, like I said, my all-time, in fact, I watched it 2 days ago, is The Patriot. Whenever that movie comes on, I'm stuck. I'm watching it. I've run late watching it, or I always hit the DVR, so when I come back, I can watch it. I know it by heart, backwards and forwards. So that's all I really get. I cannot pick one movie, so that's impossible. So, but my favorite all-time movie would probably be The Patriot.
All right. Mads, go ahead and give you your 3 minutes. Go ahead and start now.
Okay, this will come as absolutely no surprise to anybody, but I'm a Catwoman fan. I was.
Wait, what?
It's a shocker. I know.
And there's a cat tail behind you. There was a cat tail waving behind you.
Yes, that's my little girl cat, Kara.
Oh.
Kara Zor-El, actually.
Oh.
For the nerdy inclined. Yes, we named her Supergirl. But I would always race home at lunchtime so I could catch the reruns of Batman. You know, with Adam West and all of that. And you know what? Catwoman was always my favorite. Any episode with
which
her
Catwoman did you like the best out of the three?
Oh, you have to say Julie Newmar.
Oh, yes.
Julie Newmar was the iconic. I also loved Lee Merriweather. I was hit and miss depending on the episode with Eartha Kitt, just because of the whole cat talk. You know, sometimes, yeah, it sometimes wore on me. So it was catching me in the right mood for that one.
Eartha Kitt's the one most people go to like directly because they remember her. But Julie Newmar, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
she was the sexiest out of the three.
Yeah,
damn straight. So when I heard about Michelle Pfeiffer being cast as Catwoman, I admit I was not happy originally. I'm like, why are they casting a blonde for this role? I mean, she's sexy, she's sultry, and I walked into it not expecting to be happy with, expecting to be not happy with it. And I will own it. I fell in love with her Catwoman immediately.
Yeah.
To the point where Deadpool behind me, I'm actually working on an art project that is going to be Catwoman on my wall, split up among 4 very large canvases.
Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, much like the corner picture on my Twitter page. I'm working on making that stuff real. But yeah, she was always, she's sexy, but she doesn't take, she doesn't take shit. And I loved that. And I'll admit, I modeled that myself a lot.
So you didn't like the Halle Berry Catwoman?
Actually, yeah, I did.
Did you like the movie?
No.
Okay, but her as the character.
Her Catwoman was actually
super
really
sexy.
good.
Yeah.
She was sexy. I loved it.
I haven't finished watching it. I own it. I've started watching it a couple times. I don't want to say that I got to a point where I was like, oh my god, this is horrible. It's just,
yeah,
I had things to do and I put it in and I was like, okay, I will see how this goes. And I just never finished it. So
like I can't say that I completely hated it. There was a lot of issues with the movie. But for me, it's a Catwoman movie. I will still watch it just because it's one of my favorite characters.
Now that was supposed to be Michelle Pfeiffer's movie.
Yeah,
it's supposed to come out like a year or two after Batman Returns, and that fell through so horribly. So, okay, so I'm like Danny. I can't pick one, but I'll give you 3, and I'll explain it to you. First one, Goonies. I have a huge sense of adventure. I like exploring abandoned places. I currently am working at a casino with a total of about 7 to 6, or actually, no, I rephrase that, 6 to 5 people working in any one shift. So when I'm there on Fridays from 3 a.m. to 7 p.m., I am literally able to walk that whole place and be alone anywhere I go. I can go into any hotel room. I can go behind the scenes anywhere. And I love that to an extent. It's like, this is really cool. But I have a huge sense of adventure. Like I said, abandoned places, abandoned buildings that have been closed down, but you can still get into. I actually ended up making a contact with with somebody here in Kansas City in the city department that has actually, as long as I call them and as long as they know it's a safe building or whatever, if it's abandoned, I in the past gone into those with permission from the city, which I find really exhilarating. I love doing that. And I would suggest anybody who likes doing stuff like that, make sure you get their property owner's permission. A lot of them, you'd be surprised. See, Danny's shaking his head, but you can get them to give you permission. What, you don't?
More of the safety issue.
I understand that, but that's a thing. Everybody should know that the safety's on you. You got to be safe. Now, the second one, Indiana Jones. Any one of the Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark was just a wow. I loved it, and I loved Indiana Jones much. Again, the sense of adventure, the sense of exploration. I like the fact that the guy was 2 people at one time. He was a smart book guy, loved history and all that, but he took risks and took chances when he was out. He was 2 separate people. When you saw him at the college, he was buttoned down, do this stuff, but you knew it wore on him because, like, if you watch in The Last Crusade, when he gets done with class, he goes into his office and all those kids are there, and he closes his office door, and what does he do? He sits down in his chair, lets his tie down, and he's going like, oh God, I have had enough of being this person today. I feel like at times I put this, I don't want to say front, but I put this other face on when I'm out in public that, hey, this is, straight lace, this is how things are. But I do like to just cut loose and kind of do things spur of the moment, which leads to the third movie that really, or set of movies that really influenced me as a child, and that's Star Wars, the original trilogy. Han Solo. I know, same actor, whatever, go figure. I have a thing for Harrison Ford. Han Solo and I'm going to finish this up real quick. Han Solo, he's brazen, he's cocky, but he cares. He always cares. It's just you got to get through to him to find out, that he cares, because he doesn't want to let people know that. He tries to show that face of, oh no, I don't care, but he cares. Especially as the movies go on, you realize that his friends are really the dear people to him. So, anything else to be said about this, guys?
Another movie I want to mention. When I was a child, it just crossed my mind. The Last Starfighter. I don't know if you ever seen that.
Yeah, I loved the thought of that movie.
That movie was awesome.
And you go back and you watch it, and it's still,
it still holds up. It still holds up.
The graphics are a little fake now, but overall, though, the movie still is really good. The practical sets they made. I'll tell you what, still to this day, as far as space ships are concerned, with the cockpit, that cockpit they used, I remember watching it behind the scenes, and that was a fully run gimbaled system that they were in for those cockpit scenes, and it looked so realistic. And even today,
it was called the Death Blossom. I remember that.
Not just the Death Blossom, but the way that his whole 2-seat cockpit system worked. That was a full gimbaled set that they put those actors in. So when he moved around, the seat did move around. And when they did the Death Blossom, of course, that wasn't. I don't know how they did that. I don't remember, but that was still the whole way they did that was beautiful. Yep. And I would love, and I think we've talked about this before, Danny. I'd love to see that movie not messed with, but remastered something. Yeah.
I would look if it was to come to theaters and they do it like doing back a throwback Saturday, and that was the featured movie. I'd go pay for it, see it again.
I'd like to see them retouch it up like they did Star Wars, but just let's not add any new parts or anything. Let's go back and all the
improve the special effects. What they did, the remastered Star Trek is awesome. I saw remastered Star Trek about a week ago with Kirk and McCoy and Spock, and when they did certain special effects, it looks so much better now compared to when it was back in the 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Well, could you see a remastered Batman? The 66 Batman? God, I'd love to see that.
It'd be interesting to see what they would do, because
check out that pow and boom. Well, that's the only thing I didn't like about.
But that was kind of its luster. That was kind of why people watched it, because it was its campiness. What do you think, Matt?
Sorry, I missed that.
No, you're fine.
Something.
We say we want to take out the power and the boom of the 1966 Batman whenever they punch and hit somebody. I didn't like that.
No, not at all. That's part of the camp.
Hmm.
You can't walking into that Batman. I mean, you can't exactly, expect it to be on the same seriousness that the Michael Keaton and all the stuff that we've gotten to know since then.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the charm of that is the bow, the boom, the holy rusted metal Batman type stuff.
I don't mind that part. I'm just saying I don't have to have the actual pow boom.
Well, you know what you could do? You could leave it, but with graphics and stuff the way it is now, I'm sure those scenes were filmed without that, and they just put it over those scenes. So what you do is you take it out of the scene, and instead of making the big panel that's the whole screen, you make it where their fist is. You put that pow right where their fist is, and you put a sticker on the guy's face or something. You make it smaller, but you keep the nostalgia of doing it, but you make it look a little cleaner. Maybe, I don't know. That might be interesting, though. Maybe a topic for another day.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Last topic that we'll kind of dive into some of these other topics. The last one we're going to take our 3 minutes with is, because we'll do Danny's question for sure. We're going to talk about Danny's question after this. With Colin Farrell getting the part of Penguin, does this give more credence to a Long Halloween or Batman Year One theme for the Batman? So, do you think with using Colin Farrell as the Penguin, that this lends the fact that a lot of people are saying this could be a Long Halloween script or Batman Year One script. Do you think that him being casted as that, does that give more proof that that's what they're going to do?
Okay.
All right. So, Mads, we'll let you go again since you are our guest. We'll let you have the first word on the last topic. Here you go. 3 minutes.
Honestly, it could lean more towards the first year Batman, which, considering the age of I'm drawing a blank on his name. I'm not a huge Twilight fan.
Colin Farrell.
Oh no, you're talking about
Pattinson.
Robert Patterson.
Yeah, him. Considering the age of him versus what we've seen before, a first-year Batman would actually be right ideal. So that's something that could be hoped for. I'm hoping I'm taking Shaun's space, well. But and that honestly, I'd lean more towards the first versus the Halloween. My only concern is Colin Farrell himself. I mean, he doesn't exactly have that penguin vibe. I'm hoping he proves me wrong on this one, because I never discount that. I was actually one of the few that was actually rooting for saying, you know what, let's give Ben Affleck a chance. So I am hoping for this. I don't want to see another bullseye version just with a monocle.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah. Everything that we've heard so far, it does sound more first year versus Long Halloween. And honestly, that sounds promising, because of the two of them, that's one of the more iconic stories.
Yeah.
It's one of the ones that they really haven't touched on outside of the animated movies. So it would be really nice. It'd be nice as an origin story. And I see we have Tommy in the house. How you doing?
Hey, Tommy.
I am, despite the fact this is actually something I grew up watching, I really am drawing a blank at this point.
No, you're right. No. That's fine. Like I said, we don't hold people, we don't hold your hands to a fire or anything and say you got to take your time. You're more than willing, you're more than welcome to say, yeah, that's what I got to say. So from that point, we're going to go ahead and start the 3 minutes back up. Danny, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. 3 minutes.
Based on what I've seen, I can't determine one way whether it's going to be year one or the Long Halloween. At this point, I really don't care, as long as the story is good on either story they choose to go. Colin Farrell, I definitely think is going to bring name recognition to the show. I think on a previous chat we had earlier this week, some people were saying that Colin Farrell, most of his movies don't do well. I actually liked him as Bullseye in Daredevil. Some people were kind of a little PO, I guess, about him referring to himself as Oz instead of Oswald. I think it's just going to be edgier and new version, or more aggressive, mean version of the Penguin. I wouldn't be mad at that. I don't want him. I don't see Colin Farrell with the long cigarette holder and quack like Burgess Meredith did. I don't see that at all. But if he got the long trench coat, kind of feathery, kind of like, and look kind of like the Penguin, and he comes in and he has a certain aggressive to him, or maybe he has, like I said, a tick or something that's kind of an unusual tick that kind of maybe mimics a bird or something. I don't know, Tourette's or something like that. But at the end of the day, he's mean as hell, and he's cold, or he's little whatever, and he gets some of the essence of the Penguin, not all of his little quirks and stuff.
You're just looking for a start of the ticks, aren't you?
Yeah.
Just little things that point to it.
Yeah. To see he does a small Tourette's, and he might go whack or something else. So I mean, I don't know, something like that. I would be cool with that. Or maybe an origin story of the Penguin, of how he became the Penguin, kind of like what Gotham did. The guy that played Penguin on Gotham was awesome. I wish they could get him to do it, but I think Colin Farrell can handle this. I like his look with the monocle. If he's gonna be a little more street or edgier, I don't mind him calling himself Oz or something. And then when he get to a certain level or whatever, or he goes to his arc, and at the end he becomes a penguin, or somewhere between the second and third act, he transforms into the penguin. I'm cool with that. So I think that Colin Farrell can do it. I think with this cast, whichever story they choose, if they choose the Long Halloween, they're gonna have to incorporate the Riddler. So I don't know whether or not that's going to take too much time away from him or not. But if they do year one, then they can concentrate solely on him as the bad guy.
Cool. Yeah. No, yeah. All right. So I'll take my 3 minutes real quick. All right. So I would be all right with either of these. It was more of a question that I think that having him in there, I think, can lend more credence to the fact that, yes, it could be one or the other. I do think that if you make it year one, that makes a little more sense. And there's another thing I've thought about as they announced Colin Farrell doing this, is that you don't start a Batman's origin movie like a year one or whatever they might do and make the Penguin your main villain. My thought process here is, and especially since they've got more time now that they're not shooting right now, there can be casting directors at their house right now going through tons of resumes, trying to find the perfect people for Catwoman, Joker, the Riddler. Get your main villains in here, and it'd be really interesting to do something more like this Batman 66. Not the campiness, but let's bring a bunch of villains in and just introduce them. Here you go. And that would be really interesting. Now, I know that's quite ambitious and it might get muddled, but I think that might lend some credence to that also, is that we might be getting 2, maybe 3 villains in this. And I'd like to see that. I mean, because you think about it. Yeah, we've had the Riddler, we've had Joker, we've had the Penguin, we've had Scarecrow now, we've had Poison Ivy, we've had Mr. Freeze. Who else have we gotten? Bane's.
We haven't had Scarecrow.
Yeah, we have Dr. Crane. Dr. Crane in
yeah. You're right.
He's the Scarecrow. Now, granted, he only says it once in the whole movie. You only see him with his mask like twice, and so I mean, and then
it was still.
Oh, I think it was perfect the way they did it as an introduction to the character. I just wish they would have used him more than just putting him in the first like 5 seconds of the next movie.
I really wanted to see Riddler done in that arc.
I really did too, and I really wish they would have done that. But the one thing I have to say about Batman movies is, and while I'm not necessarily totally for Colin Farrell or for Robert Pattinson being in the parts they're in, if there's one movie out there that more times than not has proven, listen, just wait until you see the movie, it's Batman. It is Batman. Michael Keaton, nobody thought he would do it. People thought Jack Nicholson wouldn't have been able to do the Joker. People said the same thing about Heath Ledger. People said the same thing about Christian Bale. People said the same thing about Ben Affleck. You know what?
Conversely, everyone was excited for Val Kilmer and George Clooney.
And look at what happened. Now, Val Kilmer wasn't as much of a train wreck, and we're going to continue this for 3 minutes. Val Kilmer was not as much of a train wreck as Ben Affleck. I mean, not Ben Affleck, but George Clooney was. Yeah. But definitely there was a major fall in product from Batman Returns to Batman Forever. It went campy-ish a little bit. There was a lot of big personalities there that overshadowed each other.
Jim Carrey overshadowed Val Kilmer. I didn't like Jim Carrey's take on the Riddler.
It was all right. It was a little over the top. I think if he had dialed it back, but for the 90s when that movie came out, that was Jim Carrey. And if you put him in your movie, you knew what you were getting. So they knew what they were going to get.
Honestly, of the villains in that movie, Two-Face was more of the problem for me than the than Jim Carrey's Riddler.
Again, though,
There-
he
there was a lot-
overdid it.
There was
Jim
a
Carrey, he
definitely
had more like the Joker than the Riddler to me.
In a way, but it was still, I don't know, it was still Riddler.
I didn't hear that about Jack Nicholson. Whenever I remember, I was in the Marine Corps in Japan in 1989 when it came out, and everybody was like, "Jack Nicholson gonna play the Joker? That's gonna be awesome." So I didn't hear those.
I'd heard some people say, you're dealing with a funny guy, but I think that he did a really good job of the psychopath, that you just didn't know. And I loved the way he played Jack Napier at the beginning of that movie. Very, straight laced and but you could tell he was on edge, and you could tell it was just going to take a little thing to change him, and it does happen, of course. But if there's one movie out there that proves time and time again, just wait. It is Batman. So that's why, even though I say I'm not positive about these picks, if you got the right people behind the scenes,
I think it's going to be year one because the suit doesn't look as streamlined as it does. It looks like maybe first year he's trying to kind of feel stuff out because how it looked in Christian Bale Batman, the first Batman, The Dark Knight Rises, and then as he progressed into the different ones, the suit looked more and more sleeker, and he made changes. That's how I think this is going to be.
Like I said, if you introduce, even if just quick cameos of each of your villains and have one main villain in this one, that'd be awesome. And then you could move for a second movie to be The Long Halloween. Move on. And then if you've already introduced your villains that are going to be in that one, now we've seen them before. Quick cameos would work. Just find the right actors and say, hey, listen, we're going to throw you $1 million, or we're going to throw you this, and you're going to jump in. You're going to have a 5-minute scene. And
hell, I would throw in a cameo of Joaquin Phoenix.
You could. And that'd be a great tie-in and tie around to it.
So would that be a Joaquin role?
I would just show him maybe in Arkham drawing something.
You didn't catch that, did you? She did a wonderful play on words. She said
what?
She said when you said Joaquin Phoenix, she said, would that be a Joaquin role?
Oh, I got you.
A walk-in role.
Walking.
Sorry, I was like, that was clever. That was beautiful. Okay, so we got about 13 minutes until we're at an hour, and that's about how long we take these things. So Danny did give us a really good question here. We're gonna dump this screen, and Danny gave us a 3-part question today, which I allowed him to do, which doesn't really matter. I'm not the only person who makes the decisions on this show. This is a Chaos Central production. So Danny, me, and Shaun, when Shaun's around, which I will say again, Shaun's got some things going on in his house and some stuff, and with the current situation around the world, it's understandable.
Tommy's made a really good point in the chat.
What did he say?
He says, I wish they could pull some of the good character design they had in Gotham series into a movie. They did quite a few characters right in that series. Shane's series as a whole was
bad as F.
Thank you.
Yeah, I caught that. No, and you're absolutely right, Tommy. I don't think
the show was bad. I think the last 2 episodes was bad as F.
They
the Batman
nailed a lot of the villains in that series.
It was a beautiful
Riddler,
series.
Penguin, Poison Ivy, and Bane were awesome.
Which, looking back on it now, you have to think that the actual theme of that movie has nothing to do with Bruce Wayne or him becoming Batman. While that's a part of that, that's a secondary theme to the fact that movie is truthfully about showing people villains they've never met before. And it was a great way
in ways that we've never seen, even the ones we know, in ways we've never seen them before. Yeah. I've actually grew to love a lot of villains that I really hadn't really cared about beforehand.
Well, and I can't remember. I think they introduced the Lazarus Pit in that, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
And I loved that. It was like, oh wow, this is something a casual fan doesn't know about. It was beautiful that they did that. And I think now that they've put that out there on TV, that you've actually opened it up. Now we can use it in movies. People will understand what this is about. And I'm with Tommy. That's kind of what I'm thinking they need to do with this is take some of the ideas that Gotham gave us and put it in movie form. And Colin Farrell, while he's not, and I can't remember the guy who played Penguin in the series, but he's not the exact same type of guy, but he's tall, he's lanky-ish, he's not a fat, stocky guy like Danny DeVito. I think that is kind of going in that route, giving you a look at something that, no, this isn't your traditional. And who's to say we don't know?
There's Robert Taylor.
Okay, yeah.
Like it's in how he plays it.
Yeah, and we don't.
That was the polarizing factor with Robert Taylor.
Yeah, we don't know that as time goes on in the Penguin's life, what happens to him. Does he have a genetic deformity that just shows up more and more the older he gets that'll make him get shorter? Does he have something happen to him that makes it so he has to have some sort of surgery that makes him get shorter? And because of such, it makes his mobility go down and now he becomes fat. I mean, we could still morph into the character that a lot of people know that Burgess Meredith played and that Danny DeVito played. Things like
the same way Norman Osborn was in Spider-Man. He had that disease, degenerative disease.
And you can do that, and it would make sense. You just got to give it time. And I think that's my biggest problem with Batman in the movies is that you see the product and you're like, oh, wow, this is so awesome. Especially with the Chris Nolan with his Batman vision. They could have gone for another 3 or 4 movies and made it beautiful, I think. And now, granted, yeah, everybody has to want to be a part of it. Everybody has to still have the same passion, and it's very hard to keep adult actors like Christian Bale and people like that motivated for 6+ movies. Mm-hmm. You look at the cast of Star Wars; they were getting to the point they weren't motivated anymore. You look at Harry Potter. I mean, the fact that they got through 7 movies. The last few movies, all the actors basically said, we love doing this. We wanted to see it to the finish, but we were kind of getting, old. It was getting old. So
I couldn't tell because all of it was good to me.
Yeah.
And that's true. Tommy brings up another thing about Ra's al Ghul, that DC themselves had so many different versions of Ra's.
And Gotham, he wanted to die. I've never seen that before. But
the thing is I think that plays into Ra's, that we may never have known who he really is. It may, much like how Batman Begins did it, that when he said, when he thought Ra's was the Asian guy in the monastery, and then it turned out supposedly to be Ralph Fiennes. We don't know if that was really him or not. And I think no, not Ralph. Wait, was it Ralph?
Liam
Neeson. Thank you. I get the two mixed up. Don't ask me why. Probably because I don't find them attractive. Women will tell you the difference every time. No, that's not that. It's this.
He was Qui-Gon.
Yeah, okay.
How he was Qui-Gon versus Voldemort? Come on.
Got his hair chopped.
Qui-Gon versus Voldemort.
Oh, anyways, we never really know who Ra's is. So for all we know, even in the comic books, we've never really met Ra's al Ghul. And for so it kind of lends into the mysterious side of that character that we really don't know. He's part of the Shadow League or League of Shadows and all of that stuff. And it builds into the thing of that's his MO. You don't know. And so I guess that's okay. And I mean, that makes it really easy to have the character in a movie because you can just say, hey, he says he is, but is he? So,
gotcha.
All right. So the question that Danny picked up. So the crisis.
Let me just agree with Tommy on the Victor Zsasz was definitely one of the highlights of Gotham.
Oh yes, indeed. And
okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
No problem. The crisis is changing the world as we know it. So there's 3-part question to this. One, do you think that it'll spark a new work model since a lot of people are now working from home? 2, do you think that it'll spark a new model in education, in the education field, since kids are now doing homework virtually? And 3, do you think this will spark a new revenue stream for restaurants that were traditionally sit down and now find themselves doing curbside and delivery solely? So, Mads, why don't you take those? The first one, do you think that it'll spark a new work model since a lot of people are now working from home?
Honestly, I really believe it can. This whole thing has actually forced the world to change, take a look at actually how it does. And yeah, seeing the whole, my brain, I'm not looking up. Yeah, I can see a lot more companies opting for the work at home aspect versus what was doing before, because you don't have the same guarantee that people are going to be on time. You don't have the same stress it is that you do, the whole traveling back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see a lot of things changing after this.
Danny?
I can definitely see it changing. There's the days of brick and mortar buildings are going to go away. That's going to save profits for the company. Just like she said, worrying about people being on time and stuff. Ain't got to worry about putting on makeup, clothes, suit and tie, that kind of stuff. They can just kind of jump out of bed or sit up in the bed and get on the laptop and go to work. It will prevent sick days, I do believe, because a lot of times you come to the office and somebody's sick, you may get that. But now if you're at home and you're not around someone that's sick, it's doing what it's really doing now with this crisis. So, and Amazon is putting its foot so deep in Walmart's butt, it's ridiculous, because I can come home and every day there's something from Amazon, either my wife or daughter has ordered, and it's just convenience. And now Americans are in a place now where things are convenient. They don't want to walk to they'll walk to the mailbox to get it. They don't want to get in their car, drive X amount of miles, whatever, go get it when they can get it right here at home. So I definitely think, let's just say hypothetically this was 10 years away from becoming totally virtual. I think this crisis has pushed it to 5 years away. I think it's cut it in half. So I definitely think we are headed to that in that direction at a much faster pace than what we originally were going to do it.
I personally think that this is a yes and a no answer. Yes, it's going to make some of it change, but I happen to know for a fact I have friends who are still going to offices, and now very few now, but there are still some that are saying, go to the office, your job is here, you can do it. And yet they're saying, why can't we do this virtually? Why can't I stay at home and do this? Because it's on a computer. Just give me my computer. And some of this is in the medical field, so you get HIPAA here in the United States and things like that. But the thing is that person knows those rules. That person understands those rules. So what do? You tell them, you sign this piece of paper that says, if you take this computer box home with you, you're responsible for all the information that anybody could get in that. And if anything happens, you're responsible for it. That's all you got to do. It's really simple. But they're hesitant still on that. Now the yes side of this, I mean, let's dive into this a little bit, really dive into this. If you can take an office building of 400 employees who are all in cubicles and sitting at a building that is using, hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in utilities, gas, electric, and water, and lights, and all of that stuff. Think about it. You purchase a computer that is a work computer only, and you send all your employees home now. Now you don't have to have that building, less buildings, less pollution. You could really say, hey, people staying at home and working from a computer who have office jobs can save a lot of money. Hell, everybody at Google could do it. Yep. And you then what you can do is, now you're not spending the millions of dollars on this building. You can hire another 20, 30 employees to stay at home and what?
Or you could pay them more.
Well, you could do both, truthfully.
Sure.
You can take that money, put it back towards your employees, say, we're going to pay you more, but we're going to hire more employees. And let's think about this from our aspect. We're YouTube creators here. Let's think about this. And then you might actually have people who can look at these YouTube disputes directly, more people involved in that. Then now they can sit at home. And let's say somebody can't sleep at night. Those type of people, let's say you're hired as a dispute resolver on YouTube to look at, is this really a copyright issue? Or is that stream okay for monetization, or is this one violating some term or policy? If I'm this guy at home now who has a dispute resolution job for YouTube, let's say I can't sleep and it's 12 at night. Well, that I now can jump on, and as long as I don't work over a maximum amount of hours a week, I can jump on at any time and say, hey, as long as I'm putting in my 40 hours a week in 7 days now, because I'm working from home, look at this. I can accomplish more in my own time span. That means your families are going to become stronger because you're going to have more time that you can say, okay, well, the kids want to go do this. They want to go see this movie now. Well, instead of having to be at work now, you can say, well, yeah, kids, let's go watch this movie. I can come back and I can log in at 7 o'clock tonight and work for a few hours. You actually give a lot more ability to let people be people. You still hold them to the same standard. You got to give me 40 hours a week. I don't care what days you do it on. I don't care what time you do it, as long as you do it. Now, that depends, because not all jobs are going to be like that. Some jobs are a 9-to-5 thing, and it will always be a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday. But those people are used to that. They won't have an issue with that. But being at home, you can still make dinner or you can still make lunch for kids if they're home. Cut down on kids in daycare. Again, you're strengthening families by having them there with their parents and stuff. So there's a lot of pluses in virtual workplaces.
Not to mention, you remember when stuff was paperless? When stuff was paper, now everything's going paperless. If you're at home now, there's no paper. Everything is electronic.
Well, even if they have to have a physical copy, somebody at another place is going to be doing it. Or there'll be a central place that, like, an IT guy is going to have this printer going off all the time or something like that. It still reduces who's actually in a physical workplace. And again, that can be nothing but good. I mean, an 8-story building, again, using all these utilities and stuff, even if you have to have 10 people at an office still in a physical workplace, that 10 people can fit into a small single-story building or a multi-purpose building that has 5 or 6 companies in one place. That now, instead of having 100 employees in an 8-story building, 400 or 500 employees in an 8-story building, you have 100 employees from 10 different companies in one building that's 1 story, and it takes 2 or 3 city blocks. You're cutting down again on a lot of this stuff that's a big problem right now: space and size. And again, like I said, pollution. This would cut down on pollution because you're not going to have people driving their cars all the damn time. And in fact, the only people that might hurt is the auto industry. But, yeah. All right, second part. Do you think that it will spark a new model in the education field since kids are now doing homework virtually? Danny, what do you say?
I'm a yes and no that one. I had the same question with my daughter, who is a single parent with 2 kids, and she's like, no, I want to go to school. I need that break. But I think that if it does go virtually, it will put the education access on a more level field. Because let's say, for instance, you're speaking Spanish and you got somebody in Mexico that actually speaks Spanish, and they're able to virtually teach a class of 100 versus 30.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the same access to that. Or a mathematician over in England somewhere, or wherever part of the country or part of the world. I definitely think that will even the playing field. And I think after seeing this, I can see it head that way in some degree. Maybe not all the way. Maybe there be a certain number of hours in classroom time, or maybe once or twice a week is physical classroom time, but the rest of the time is virtual. I see it heading there. And again, I'm going to say again what I said earlier. If it's 10 years away, this crisis has now cut that in half, or maybe even more. But I can definitely see it. I remember probably about 15 years ago now. I was in a class in local beach. I don't know if you ever heard of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, but I was in Myrtle Beach, and there were two other classes, one in the city of Columbia, one in Charleston, and they're about maybe from Myrtle Beach an hour and a half each way. But the class was taught in Myrtle Beach, but you could see the other students in the Columbia class, in the Charleston class, and that was 15 years ago. Now, right now, we're talking Mads in Canada, I'm in South Carolina, and you're in Kansas, and we do it 3 or 4 times a week. So if we can do it in this bull driving, then why can't a teacher actually use the same concept and process? So I definitely think it's heading that way. Maybe not full time, but at least some part time level.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, first of all, one, I really need a new cell phone stand.
Guys, you hear that? How about this? Real quick, of anybody who's watching, Mads, do you have a PayPal or anything?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have it linked usually on most of my videos.
In the private chat, I'll put it up on the.
Give me a moment.
Yeah, but guys, you heard it right there. She needs a new cell phone stand, so please help her out. Put her PayPal.
Yeah, there's nothing in my neighborhood.
Yeah, something. Just send her some money, and so she can go on Amazon or something and get something. So go ahead, Mads. Tell us what you think.
But my daughter has been bullied, actually, pretty much solidly this past 2 years, to the point where it's actually a struggle to get her to go to school. And she's an exceedingly brilliant kid, which makes it even more frustrating. I mean, I'm in the process, or before this whole started, I was in the process of trying to get her tested to see if she's, on the gifted level, which honestly wouldn't surprise me. But because she doesn't want to go to school, because she's frankly afraid to, it makes this even more frustrating for me, because I can see the teachers aren't challenging her to the level she needs. And I'm hoping a more at-home situation would give them the chance to look at students more individually versus, like, they've got 30 in a classroom where we are, as a, on average. Trying to pull up my videos for you. So I'm really hoping for this to instill a serious change when it comes to all of this, because I can't keep going the way I have been before this started.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. I'm sorry your daughter's going through that.
Yeah,
do y'all have school? Do y'all have police officers in the schools? Where you at, Mads?
No.
Really?
Here where I'm at, we have
resource
has made a law where he wants one in every school, and in my county, we have one in every school in that particular county.
A lot of places are doing that. We call them resource officers here in the state.
School resource officer.
Everyone does. Every school has at least one, and then lots of times you have one that'll travel and just double check, like a commanding officer of those people alone that'll double check on them. All right. So my mother's an ex-teacher. She's retired. The answer to this question is yes and no. Absolutely. I think that, yes, it can completely go virtual to an extent. The only difference is that you would have to have a school district that one day a week would have a central location that children could go to for a one-on-one, because some kids just will not get it without a teacher coming up and saying, no, this is what you did wrong. Here's what you have to fix, and this and this. It's that interaction sometimes. Plus, you have to think, kids still benefit from sports in school. They benefit from band. They benefit from choir, orchestra. the social clubs, that is where a child learns to deal with people. Now, unfortunately, Mads, what's happening to your daughter, that's the bad side of it too.
Yeah.
And it's horrible. But the need to go and be with those kids is still really important. And yeah, I hate talking about bullying because it's such a ridiculous thing that kids, unfortunately, and I'm under the complete belief that kids who bully, while you can blame the child and you have to hold the child responsible, I blame the parents, because the parents are the ones who have instilled that in their children. It's a deep seed that I think that if a child bullies somebody, that they've seen.
You're saying the bullier.
Yes, the bullier, the one that is bullying another child, that is brought on by their parents. Their parents have put something in them, and they have learned something from their parents. Be it their dad is disrespectful to people in a grocery store or whatever, that comes from the parents.
Sometimes it's just a character flaw. I'll give you a prime example. In my own family, there are 5 of us. We're all raised the same, but one of us is way off the path.
And yes, there are those situations that there are children out there who just become that way. But overall, I still think it's how you're raised. And yeah. Tommy says, I send my guinea pig army out to attack bullies all the time. Crikey, that makes me a bully of the bullies. All right. So the third topic in this is, do you think this will spark new revenue stream, or a new revenue stream for restaurants that were traditionally sit down, but now find themselves doing curbside and delivery solely? So go ahead, Mads. We'll let you start on this one.
Honestly, I can see more of a move to that. A lot of companies offering the delivery or whatnot that where they didn't before. But once this comes back, I still see that that's going to be one of the few things I don't really see changing massively, because that's one of the things a lot of people miss, is being able to go out and just sit down at the restaurant. That's one of those things I really don't see ever actually changing that much. I mean, call me biased. I was a chef for 10 years. So.
You a chef, Matt? What?
Oh, I was.
Never. Not with all your cooking stuff you do.
No, I worked at the Air Canada Center and all that. I know you guys know it as something else now. It will always be the Air Canada Center to me. It's where the Raptors play.
Yeah.
So yeah, I worked there for a long time.
Yeah. Danny?
I think that it has potential to do it. There's a place here where I live at, South Carolina, called Cracker Barrel. I don't know if there's one where you're at, Chris.
Yeah, we have one.
But
several.
It's never. Yeah, we have several too. Big chain, and I've never known it to deliver or do. They did the drive up, but never delivered. Now they're delivering now, because I think until this thing, I was listening to Bill Gates before I came on. He's saying that until we get an actual vaccine and people starting to feel comfortable, they're going to be kind of leery and gun shy. I know I am. If any of y'all know me for a while, I'm not a prejudiced person. I'm in an interracial marriage, but just in my mind, and I know it's in my mind, I have not gone to a Chinese restaurant since this has happened. And it may sound messed up, and I will admit that it sounds messed up, but that's just one of the little mind games, and I'm going to be a little leery for a minute. That's just me now. I'm not speaking for nobody else but Danny. And I think people are going to be a little gun shy at first until they start feeling comfortable that this stuff is handled. And I think that companies are going to find ways to survive. And one of the ways to survive is, okay, we'll deliver it to you. curbside, the ones that didn't do it, mom and pops are going to have to get creative if they want to survive. Because I only think this stimulus package is going to help us so much. The government can't continue to steady feed that as long as it's go on, in my opinion. But you got to get creative sometimes. You got to think outside the box, and you got to do what you got to do to survive. So I think that if you normally didn't deliver or have call-ins or whatever, there's a juice bar that I go to quite frequently. And I went there yesterday to get my normal, and it was like, oh, you got to call in first, and only 3 people in the store at a time. So I had to wait until the number of people came out, and they said, well, you don't have to call this time, Mr. Graham, but next time make sure. So things are changing, and I think they might even go to delivering depending on the radius, how far it is. So I think if it makes dollars, it makes sense to some of these businesses. So.
All right. So here goes my dive deep, think big. And I've been told I have good ideas. Like I come up with these really cool ideas, and much like the reducing office buildings and stuff, I think that's a really good idea. But how about this? Cut down on the amount of places that you can go to sit down, but keep them. So if you have we have several areas of town here where I'm at, and everybody does, but there's Kansas City. There's Kansas City North. There's North Kansas City, which is a separate city altogether. But Kansas City North is above North Kansas City, so it's still part of Kansas City. So that's why we call it Kansas City North. There's Overland Park, Olathe. There's a bunch of different areas. So within each one of those areas, if you have, let's say, 7 of any one chain, let's cut it down to 4. But you make a central location that handles only carry out and delivery. Mm-hmm. And by doing so, once again, we cut down on the amount of buildings, we cut down on the amount of pollution, and we still keep a place for people to go if they want to be a part of it. But what this crisis has done is it has forced people who want to eat out or eat from a restaurant to use a delivery service or a curbside or carry out service instead of going to the restaurant. So what it's doing is people who were not inclined to do that before, who had reservations about doing it, oh, they won't get my food right, or they won't do this, or they won't do that. It is now making them that's their only option. So by doing so, now a lot of people don't have that reservation as much now. Now, let's say the part where they're going to mess up my order. Well, that might be true, but now the restaurants are forced. The only way to keep people coming back right now is to not.
Right.
Exactly. So now what we're doing is we're fixing a lot of these problems on both sides. We're getting more communication on how to get these orders properly done. Now, what that's going to force the companies to do is where you don't have so many chances to you don't have all the, for instance, one of my problems with the McDonald's app is before when they had the egg white delight, I couldn't tell them to do certain things on it. I couldn't actually break it down to say, do this, this, and this, like you can when you drive up to a drive-through. It's going to force these companies to say, okay, I want this, but I don't want that, or I want it done like this, or that. So a lot of these companies are going to actually have to make it very, their online ordering very, it's going to have a lot more options on it now. By the time this is all said and done, these people are going to go and things will go back to normal. But what they're going to do is they're going to dive into these online and apps and really dig into how to make them fully, all the options are there. You don't want mayonnaise, fine, no mayonnaise, but you do want this. They're going to have everything on there, right? That's what I really believe they're going to do. And it's going to fully come around to where, Madge, you there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you popped out, and so on. So yeah, you popped out and then you popped back in, so that's fine. But I think that's exactly what it's going to do. But I agree, people still want that. If I want to go out and I want to sit down at a restaurant, that's what's going to happen. That's why I mean, we talked about this last week, Danny, about the drive-in movie theaters. This is the opportunity for those places to blow up again, because they're going to be able to have hundreds of people watching a movie before movie theaters are.
Yep.
Guaranteed. In fact, right now, I would not be surprised if movie theater or movie companies are saying, how do we get these products out there? Because we can't backlog them all. And I'm surprised they're pushing so many things back. If I was a movie studio right now, I would be going to every damn city, at least in the United States, if I'm a United States company. And I would be going to every city and say, where are the old drive-ins that have closed down? Where are the ones that are still open? And go by and make a plea to all of them. Listen, go to the one that hasn't been renovated for 14 years. And you say, you know what? We're going to give you $1 million. You're going to do this, 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 and this. And you're going to play our movies. Yep. And you get to keep everything. You get to keep everything you make. We're going to give you money to fix your place up, make it look as good as possible, and bring people back in because we need to play these movies. I'm surprised they have not done that. And then when, like with you, Danny, where they're all gone, I'm surprised they haven't come in and said, listen, all we need is a parking lot that's abandoned. We put up a freaking a truss system, put the screen up, put a movie projector back here, and we can invite food trucks to come in. And all you got to do is make sure that the people who own the food truck, make sure they have runners. And you can run it out to the thing, and you use an app. You just say, okay, so A, B, and C food truck, you're going to be here tonight. So what we're going to do is we're going to add you to our drive-in movie app that says this is where you can order. These 3 trucks are on property today. You order it from your phone in your car. They bring it right to you. You don't get out. You don't do anything. Yeah, you'd have to have porta potties and stuff, but you could separate those and have that social distancing of that. I mean, these make sense. This makes sense to start back to normality. So I think this is all, we're learning a lot of stuff right now on how we can integrate both public going out and those people who don't want to go out or who will be a little less likely to go out when things start to open back up.
Yep, I agree.
We're adding all of that together now, and we're learning so much, which isn't a bad thing. We're all learning a lot. We're learning about ourselves. We're learning
this is the silver lining in this whole crisis.
It is, and that's how we got to look at it.
You got time to reflect and time to make improvements, especially once it's passed. Then, like they were saying today, is this going to be like a seasonal thing? Next year, if it is, heaven forbid it won't be, then we'd be more prepared than we were this year and not caught off guard. So, as bleak as it looks in some places, there is a silver lining if you look at the long picture instead of the short picture.
Oh. All right.
Good show, bro. Good show.
Yeah. So, with that said, guys, I think we've done our due diligence on today's questions and stuff. As always, I appreciate you guys coming on. I did hear from Shaun. Shaun's dealing with his dad. His dad is currently in the hospital again. If you're interested to know, that's as much as I will say.
Sorry to hear it.
Yeah. So he was unable to make it today, but yeah. So Mads, I thank you for stepping in and taking over for him. I really like having you on. Great thoughts as always.
Thank you.
Yep. Good deal, man.
And
thank you very much.
So really quick before we head out, why don't you tell everybody out there what you're about, who you are, where they can find you, and Mads, go ahead since you are our special guest. Tell everybody about yourself and where they can find you.
Hey y'all, Mads Mama Bear here. You can find me at Mads Mama Bear on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Thursday night, you can also find me on the Queen's Council. And you know what? I really suspect some of you already know how to find me anyway, so have fun.
Good deal.
Danny, tell them about yourself.
I am Danny. My show is Comment Chat. Well, my channel is Comment Chats on YouTube. Comment Chats with the S on Twitter. Every Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me at the Chaotic Conversation on Chaos Central, here along with Chris, Mads, and Shaun, and Terrence mainly. This afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can find me and Terrence and our special guest, Jason Miller, this evening on our show, Equilibrium. Of course, we're here on a Rule of Three, me, Shaun, and Chris. Please support us. Like Chris said, we're trying to get to that 100 subscribers on the KC's network channel, so we can get that what's the name to give it again? The
What?
tag we need to get.
Oh yeah, Tommy just put it in the chat.
I got you.
And I will do this. We'll put it up on the banner, but it is in the chat. There you go.
Thank you all for your support. We really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. We enjoy seeing y'all here every Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And catch Chris show on Thursdays. I think we're gonna
This Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yeah, this Thursday we're doing the weekly Rumble. I gotta get everything lined back up to actually be doing my Gospel According to Chris on Mondays to fit it in with the chaotic conversation. I got to make sure I have everything lined up right. So I got a ton of streams and stuff going on. So now, since this is also being shown over on Chaos Central, I'll go ahead and tell you guys I am Chris Knight. This is the Real Review 3000 that you're watching it on one side, but you can find me at the Real Review 3000. You can find me on Twitter at Chris Knight 5150. Yeah. So guys, thank you very much. Again, I love doing this stuff. You guys are great. Tommy, guys, give it up to Tommy right there.
Yes, Tommy, you are awesome, bro. Awesome.
Tommy's a great mod. He comes over here, does that for me, makes it a lot.
Tommy is everywhere,
Yes.
all times of night. I was on a late show last night. I was just watching. I know it was like 2:00 and he was on there.
Yeah. Well, Tommy is a part of what I call the mod squad with HanStar, Jade Spider-Man, Sith Lord, and him. I call them my mod squad because they've all helped me mod and stuff like that. But they are awesome. And like Danny said, you'll see them everywhere. And tonight, I'm actually DJing over on HanStar's channel for Name That Tune. Just look him up on YouTube. It's a HanStar YT on Twitter. You can go there, and his link is in his profile. So check that out. Name That Tune tonight is a Comicsgate edition. And yeah, we're looking forward to that. But guys, thank you very much for coming on. Everybody, say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.